All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Mickey here, a.k.a. Sky Daddy. It's, it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. I typically don't do a lot of these messages on a Saturday, but I thought this would be kind of pertinent because it is going to be near term in the coming days. And our next sit down together is going to be our SITREP on Monday. But you won't get this until, most of you won't get this until late Monday evening. And at that point, we are, within a 24-hour window. So I wanted to push this out. Like I said, I don't do very many of these Saturday posts. This is a special SITREP, so to speak. But I'm going to tie together some elements that make this whole thing come together. We're going to talk about a potential Trump arrest coming on Tuesday. He believes it's going to happen on Tuesday. And we're going to look at some of the data that I've gathered that would indicate that may very well be what's getting ready to take shape. Of course, he probably knows better than any of us. And we're just going to take a look at the data together. So let me get over here to our other board as we start to kind of go through it. Now, this behind me, what we're looking at is going to be Guantanamo Bay. Why is that important? Well, I do believe that if he is arrested, it is likely they will take him over to this location just because he will be out of reach, out of touch from anybody, cameras, media. You can contain it all. Okay. Now, that's the first piece. The other piece to this is the fact that if you go back in history of the things that I've tracked over time and recognize that when we start to see similar types of data, it usually is an indication that somebody big is about to get arrested. In the past, we've seen this happen with Epstein. We've seen it happen with Miss Maxwell. We've seen it when there were big human trafficking arrests, for example. Now, the other piece to this are the players that are getting involved. There are some that are starting to show back up on the board that I haven't seen since before Trump was in. Okay. Now, let's take a look at that together. That's going to be this one here, the Phoenix Air Graybirds. Notice that you've got them bubbling in and out. Now, the one thing about Guantanamo Bay is it will only give me 2 weeks worth of data. I will tell you, it has been a little over that in terms of these guys coming back into the picture. And then also the other one is Coletta. Okay, this one right here, Coletta Charters. These guys are all very, very, historically, they're very big agency support services. Okay. So when I see them start to bubble on the board, I know something's up. When I also start to see a lot of Joint Base Andrews stuff going on, coming in and out of the spa, I also know that they are prepping for something, a big case maybe, okay? So we're watching this unfold, and so we're going to keep an eye on that. But then we've got other data points that I found very interesting, okay? So let's get into some of the data. First, we're going to say, let's see, we'll talk about this intel balloon. I found this one interesting. This is over the last couple weeks. Notice that it just pops up right there near Trump. It goes offline, so it could be anywhere out there at this point. But we did catch it going up, and we caught it hanging out very, very close to Trump's residence down there in Mar-a-Lago. Although that intelligence source doesn't probably need to be exactly right on top of him, it is still a pertinent, the fact that it is launched right there by him. So remember, this is data collection, and that's the first piece. And then also look at these drones, or this drone. This is a Q4 drone. Note that it is over Central Florida, and it is gathering anything and everything in that region, all the way up the East Coast, all the way down, probably past Cuba. It has that capability, especially at a high altitude. But it is also a data collector, right? So they could be potentially gathering anything, cell data, stuff that's passing through the air, intelligence on the ground, a lot of different things. Okay. Now we do see this going up to the Virginia Beach. That was just one of the locations this drone ventured off to in the last couple of weeks. But the big key takeaway is the fact that it was over Florida, over Central Florida, and it was probably looking at data on Trump, if I had to guess. Not saying it was 100% because I don't know, but I'm just saying, what are the odds, right? Now, the other piece, let's look at Trump's flight and his movement. He hasn't really gone too many places. This is March 14th, and I've got a one-way flight. It looks like it came out of Illinois, came down to his home location at Mar-a-Lago, all right? Now, one more piece of data for you, and that's this one here. If you follow my SITREP on Friday, the International Criminal Court, the ICC, issued arrest warrants for Vladimir Putin and Maria Belova. all having to do with the situation in Ukraine, but that is also key. All right. So pay attention to that. I don't know if they'll get them or not, but it is out there. The last piece is this right here. Okay. We talk a little bit about Trump here in just a minute, but check this out. Now, I've been showing you this, and I said I don't want to know what's going on. Is it because of the rail situation where we've had trains derail, et cetera. But notice that they're doing surveys, and I'm going to stop it right here. That's over D.C. That's over the whole surrounding area of Washington, D.C., our capital. Okay. Now, the rail becomes very important because the U.S. Army has a brigade that they actually, it's a rail brigade, right? They have responsibility for the rail system in the event war breaks out, okay? And so if they have to move equipment such as tanks or, striker units or whatever it may be, they're going to put that stuff on rail. It's going to come from all over the United States, mostly probably here in the Northeast, and they're going to bring it in and set up shop to contain a situation. Now, if you've got Trump being arrested, you've got the military looking at the rail systems all around that general area, then that tells me that there is a probability. The reason we're seeing this has nothing to do with spillage of hazardous material, but movement of military goods. Again, it ties in here. Look at the port, South Carolina. If you had to move things up and down the East Coast, you could use rail or you could put it into the port system and bring it up via boat. It just depends on how much you need, okay? But just notice that. And then one more piece. Look at this down in Florida, right down the center, the heart of Florida. And Trump is right over here. Okay. And so, you'd bring that equipment in if it's at Mar-a-Lago and you had some folks out there who weren't too happy. I think that's exactly why we're seeing all of these rail surveys, because they're going to be moving stuff via train and they got to make sure that the rail system is intact and ready to go. Okay. So again, data point for you. This one here, this is over on Reuters, is saying Trump says he expects to be arrested on Tuesday, and he's calling for protest. And then over here on the New York Times, Trump claims his arrest is imminent. And again, I think this is, potential setup. So just take it for what it is. I'm just reading the headline. Just know who it's coming from. But it says his indictment is by a Manhattan grand jury, and that's what they're expecting. But the timing of it is unclear, according to New York Times. However, you can see Trump over here talking about it is pretty much Tuesday. Okay, so pay close attention, because that could change your environment where you are, and it could change the environment of the United States in general. So be very cautious of what you do, the plans you make, where you go, and again, I always show this in terms of having a plan. One thing is, as we talk about the plan, remember the risk circle. This is your immediate AO. Just make sure that, and let's just talk about your home for a second. But if you just understand what goes on around you, you may be in close proximity to an area that is not necessarily a safe area, right? High crime, the income level there may not be too high. So if something goes down, where do they go? They typically are going to go into areas that are more prominent, more higher income levels to get their stuff. Okay. It's just a normal flow. All right. Also know your neighbors, look around, do you have good neighbors, bad neighbors? Can they be trusted? Remember, operational security, or OPSEC, as we say. Don't share information with your neighbors about what you have, because if things get bad, they're going to come to you to get what they need. So don't leave that garage door open if you got prep stuff in there, right? A key example. Look at the lighting and security around your house. Make sure that you've got your stuff squared away. And then think about available resources if things go bad. Where can you go? Who can you call? Things like that. And then also exfil routes. If you got to get out, don't do it unless you had to. But if you do, have a plan. Know where you're going. Make sure that the route that you're taking hasn't been compromised. Okay, so just little things like that. But again, it's just important to be thinking about these things. You should always be thinking about it anyway. You don't want to wait until a situation happens to start trying to formulate your plan. Okay, what you want to do is you want to knock the dust off that plan and be ready to implement and adjust accordingly, right? So that's that piece of it. The other piece too, remember their plan, okay? If you get into what they are planning and I'm talking about the Great Reset, we hear it all the time. We've looked at this bubble that they've put together in terms of their plan. It's kind of a spider chart or whatever. But just notice the elements that are on there. One of the key big ones, social instability, right? So we're already seeing other things like asset bubbles, deflation, unmanageable inflation, energy price shock. All the stuff that is right over my head here is actually starting to unfold at certain levels around the country. All right. And so if you get down a little further, you've got a bunch of, or I say go up a little further, sorry. You got a lot of things that tie into the things that we're seeing around the world that are pertinent. Okay. So again, it looks like even Trump is saying that his arrest is imminent. They're thinking Tuesday, this could all go down. So if that does, just make sure you have a plan, not their plan. You have your own plan, that you're really thinking things through and being smart. So listen, that's it. I've said it before. Stay frosty. Keep that powder dry. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at MonkeyWorks US.